Van stepped into the dimly lit living room, the air thick with unease. The hushed murmurs died the moment they entered, replaced by a silence that felt almost staged. Something was wrong, very wrong. Their mother sat stiffly on the couch, eyes darting toward Lena, who stood like a storm about to break. Uncle Ray lingered by the window, his presence unnervingly quiet. Van barely had time to process the tension before it shattered. $90,000 or you'll lose Mom forever. Lena's voice sliced through the silence like a jagged blade. The words slammed into Van's chest, their heart pounding with disbelief. Lose Mom? How? The demand was outrageous, irrational. Their mind raced, trying to grasp the edges of reality, but everything felt warped, like a game they hadn't agreed to play. What are you talking about? Van demanded, forcing their voice to stay steady. Lena's expression twisted, desperate but dangerous. She needs it. Now. If you don't pay, she's gone. Evelyn, silent, frail, flinched at the statement. But she didn't speak. Van knew better than to trust Lena at face value. The rage, the urgency, the unsettling confidence in her voice, it wasn't just about money. There was something deeper, something calculated. Their fingers trembled slightly as they reached into their pocket. Instinct took over. Record. Document everything. A soft beep confirmed it. Say that again, Van said, voice deceptively calm. Lena's eyes darted toward the phone in Van's hand, suspicion flickering across her face. Cliffhanger, the recording starts, but what will it reveal? Who is truly behind this demand? The soft glow of the phone screen cast eerie shadows across Van's bedroom walls. The recording played back in looping fragments, Lena's voice sharp, demanding, laced with something far more calculated than desperation. $90,000 or you'll lose Mom forever. Each repetition drilled into Van's mind, peeling away the emotions they felt in the moment and exposing the raw manipulation beneath. The pauses. The calculated shifts in tone. The way their mother barely spoke. Van knew their sister could be ruthless, but this felt different. More rehearsed. More staged. They leaned back, eyes closed, filtering through their memories. Lena had done something like this before. A flash, 2 years ago. Lena had convinced their mother to invest in a project that never existed. Thousands gone. Lena never paid it back. Another flash, 6 months ago. Whispers about a big purchase, vague excuses about debt. Always an excuse. Always a story. Van's chest tightened as realization settled in. Lena wasn't panicking. She was orchestrating. Swiping through their phone, Van opened their banking app. A thought struck, if Lena was desperate for money, it had to show somewhere. The search began. A few minutes of digging. Transactions scanned. Then, it appeared. A name they didn't recognize. Regular withdrawals in large amounts. Not from their own account, but from their mother's. Thousands drained over the past year. Van froze. Mom wasn't aware of the ransom. She wasn't even in control of her own finances. Lena had been siphoning money long before this ultimatum. So why ask for $90,000 now? What was really at stake? Van's grip tightened on their phone. Tomorrow, they were going to confront Lena. And they were going to get answers. The morning light filtered weakly through the curtains, casting long shadows across the living room. Van sat across from their mother, a cup of untouched tea between them, tension thick in the air. Mom, I need you to be honest with me. Evelyn's hands trembled slightly as she wrapped them around her mug, her gaze darting toward the hallway, as if expecting Lena to appear at any moment. She hadn't spoken more than a few words since last night. Van took a deep breath, steadying themselves. Did you know Lena was draining your account? The question landed like a stone, sinking deep. Evelyn flinched but said nothing. Van leaned forward. You didn't ask me for $90,000, did you? Evelyn swallowed hard, her knuckles widening around the mug. Still no answer. The realization crawled over Van's skin like ice. Lena had orchestrated everything. Their mother wasn't pleading for help, she was being used as leverage. She's controlling you. The words came out sharper than Van intended, but Evelyn didn't deny them. Van's chest tightened. This wasn't just about money. It was about power. Fear. Silence. A memory surfaced, 3 years ago. Lena had convinced their mother to co-sign a loan for a business venture. Van had warned against it, but Evelyn, ever hopeful, had given in. Months later, Lena disappeared for weeks, returning only when the debt collectors started calling. The loan had vanished into vague excuses, empty apologies, and promises that never materialized. And Evelyn? She had forgiven her. Van exhaled slowly. Not this time. Default text, tell me the truth, Mom, they pressed gently, voice softer now. What does she have over you? Evelyn finally looked up. Her eyes held something fragile, fear, guilt, and something else. I can't. But Van knew this wasn't the end. Van paced the length of their bedroom, phone in hand, mind racing through every possibility. If Lena wanted them to play this game, fine, they'd play. But on their terms. A message to Lena was already typed out. I'll get the money. Just give me a few days. It was a lie, but the moment they hit send, the trap was set. The response came faster than expected. Lena, good. Don't make me regret trusting you. The next morning, Lena was different. Watching. Measuring. Every time Van moved through the house, she was there, hovering just enough to make it clear she wasn't going to let them slip away. Van kept their expression neutral, letting Lena believe they were falling in line. Meanwhile, the recording sat in their phone, waiting. All they needed was the perfect moment. 3 days later, Van gathered the family in the living room, the tension palpable. Everyone was here: Mom, Lena, Uncle Ray. I have something to say. Lena stiffened, her eyes narrowing. Van glanced at their mother, her hands curled tightly in her lap, then looked back at Lena. Time to turn the tables. They pressed play. Lena's own words filled the air, sharp and undeniable. $90K or you'll lose Mom forever. A gasp, Evelyn stiffened, looking straight at Lena. She hadn't heard this before. For the first time, Lena looked unsettled. Van watched as realization flickered across their mother's face. This was it. The moment where everything shifted. But Lena wasn't finished yet. You shouldn't have done that. Her voice was low, dangerous. Van met her glare, unwavering. Neither should you. Van sat at the dining table, phone in hand, their heartbeat loud in their ears. Across from them, Lena looked too calm, like someone who had rehearsed every possible excuse. Van's fingers hovered over the screen. One tap. One message. And then it was done. The recording was sent, to their mother, to Uncle Ray, to everyone who needed to hear it. The first reaction was immediate. What is this? Evelyn's voice cracked as she listened. She looked between Van and Lena, confusion giving way to something deeper: disbelief. Betrayal. Fear. Lena shot to her feet. You can't seriously believe this. It's literally your voice, Van countered. Lena's breathing sharpened. I was pressured. I didn't mean it like that. A weak excuse. But Van wasn't falling for it, and neither was their mother. Evelyn was shaking now. How long have you been lying to me? Her voice was barely above a whisper. Silence. Then, a twist neither Van nor Evelyn saw coming. Uncle Ray cleared his throat. Maybe you should tell them the whole truth, Lena. Van's eyes snapped to him. What? Lena turned pale, her lips pressing into a thin line. She wasn't acting alone. Van felt the floor shift beneath them. The $90,000 demand, the manipulation, the stolen money, this wasn't just Lena's scheme. Evelyn exhaled sharply, realization hitting her. Oh my God. Ray, what did you do? Lena didn't meet their eyes. And that was when Van knew, they hadn't uncovered everything yet. But they were about to. Van stood in the center of the living room, the air thick with the weight of everything they had uncovered. Across from them, Lena sat rigid, her eyes dark with something unreadable. Their mother lingered nearby, fragile in the silence, while Uncle Ray watched from the corner, his presence now tainted with suspicion. No more games. Van exhaled sharply. Tell me the truth, Lena. Lena's expression didn't shift. I already did. Van's grip tightened around their phone. You asked me for $90,000 like it was some kind of ransom, but Mom wasn't even aware of it. A flicker of hesitation. Uncle Ray shifted uncomfortably. Van caught it. She didn't ask you for money, did she? Van pressed, their voice steel now. You did this for yourself. Lena's jaw tightened. You don't understand. Then make me understand. For a moment, Lena hesitated. But then, she let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. Fine. You want the truth? You really think Mom can survive on her own? Look at her. She clings to whoever is closest, and guess what? That person used to be me. Evelyn flinched. Lena, stop. But Lena wasn't stopping. She needed me, Van. And when I realized how easy it was to handle things for her, how much she relied on me, I took advantage of it. Van's stomach twisted. You stole from her. Lena scoffed. I protected her. She would have wasted that money on things that don't matter. I made sure it went where it was needed. Needed? Van's mind reeled. Uncle Ray cleared his throat. And that's where I came in. All eyes snapped to him. Lena didn't just spend the money, he admitted, shifting his weight. She owed people. People who weren't going to wait much longer. Van felt the world tilt beneath them. The $90,000 wasn't about Mom. It was about Lena's debt. Evelyn inhaled sharply, horror creeping into her face. Lena, how could you? Lena looked away. It was never supposed to get this far. But it had. And now, the family had a choice. Van clenched their jaw. You used me. You used Mom. And for what? Because you couldn't stop yourself? Silence. The weight of betrayal pressed down on them, suffocating, crushing. Van turned to their mother, whose eyes glistened with unshed tears. What happens now? Evelyn whispered. Van swallowed hard. They had a decision to make. The house felt different now. Hollow. Not because it was empty, but because the illusions had finally shattered. Van stood in the doorway, phone in hand, watching the message notifications roll in. The recording was out. It started quietly, just close friends and a few relatives. But secrets never stay contained for long. The truth spread, whispers turning into full conversations, then accusations. Lena fought back, of course. Denial. Deflection. Even threats. None of it mattered anymore. Evelyn sat in the kitchen, hands wrapped around a cooling cup of coffee. She hadn't said much since the confrontation. But Van could tell, she wasn't looking at Lena the same way. A choice had been made. Lena's debtors would come. She had burned through every safety net. Van had no intention of offering her another. The suitcase sat by the door, packed neatly, not with rage, not with regret, but with resolve. Van turned to their mother, searching for words that wouldn't come. Evelyn looked up, understanding flashing in her tired eyes. You're leaving. Famladet. You don't have to do this alone, she whispered. I know. And they did. But this wasn't about loneliness. It was about freedom. Van glanced toward the hallway. Lena stood there, watching, jaw tight. No apology. No goodbye. Just the weight of her own consequences. Van didn't care. They opened the door and stepped outside, feeling the crisp air wrap around them. For the first time in years, they felt free.